Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Atul Mac Technologies. Welcome to another edition of Top Brands. And here I am privileged to have my guest today in our show, Mr. Nagesh Sood, who is a well-known human rights activist across India and also a very senior advocate practicing in Ahmedabad High Court. Without further ado, let me welcome Nagesh. Nagesh, welcome to Top Brands.
Hi, CK. Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure again to be with you. Thank you so much.
It is our pleasure indeed, Nagesh. And as you know, we are on the journey of understanding the human rights. And one of the critical human rights that we want to talk about is the right to livelihood. So, like to know your opinion about this particular aspect.
Well, CK, as the first thing we must understand is that human dignity is the essence of all rights and liberties created by the constitution makers. Article 21 stands as a shield against the threat to basic human right, that is life and personal liberty, and right to livelihood can include basic shelter, food, education, occupation, and medical care. The Honorable Supreme Court, in a very famous Olga Tellis case, popularly known as pavement dwellers case, held that right to livelihood is born out of right to life, as no person can live without the means of living, that is, the means of livelihood. In yet another case of UP Awas Vikas Parishad and Chameli Singh, right to shelter has been held to be a fundamental right, which springs from the right to residence secured in Article 19(1)(e) and the right to life guaranteed by Article 21. Now, shelter for human being, therefore, is not mere protection of his life and limb. It is, however, where he has opportunities to grow physically, mentally, intellectually, and spiritually. The right to shelter, therefore, includes adequate living space, safe and decent structure, clean and decent surroundings, sufficient light, pure air and water, electricity, sanitation, etc., etc. So, right to livelihood includes the right to occupation, which is infringed in many ways. Now, in the recent times, we see there is a banning of 59 applications by the government. There was introduction of lockdown, which has caused severe problems to daily wagers and workers, and therefore these are the rights which are now affected by government overreaching their powers by announcing some orders.
Fine, Nagesh. I think you mentioned about two aspects, which is the migrant labor related, and the second was the banning of the applications. So we will handle them one by one. So let me ask you one question. If I understand the applications, there were more than 2.5 to 3 billion subscribers, all of them as an aggregate put together, and the biggest one was TikTok and WeChat. So, as you know, TikTok was preloaded on the cheap Chinese mobile phone, so it reached the every corner, every village in India, and that gave a lot of opportunities to the small artisans or even people who want to make some funny musical videos. And these videos were then popularized globally as a funny video from India and from other neighboring countries. And people started making some money, some revenue out of it. So those are the people who are going to lose their small revenue which they were making. Because for them, even small revenue is a big one. So it's going to have a big impact. Second category, which is a direct category, is the TikTok company themselves. They will lose out 800 million user base, and they were selling that for advertising. So there is going to be a huge loss to this company from India, because India being the largest consumer for TikTok. And these videos grows globally. So the revenue comes from all across the world for TikTok, and they will lose out that huge revenue. The third direct category is the enterprises, because these enterprises depend on selling their products to this 800 million subscriber or even beyond. And it was a very important advertising medium for the enterprises. So they are going to lose out that segment itself from their advertising credit. And the fourth important segment of the society is the famous movie stars and different famous people who were running their channels, had their fan followers on TikTok. So while these people have fan followers on Facebook and other social media platform, but they are going to lose a big chunk of TikTok fan followers from their map. So I think there has been a direct impact on society. Some of them, or I would say 80 to 90% of the people who are part of TikTok, uh, pedigree, will lose out in terms of revenue, and hence they will lose out their livelihood. What is your opinion on this one?
Yes, CK, absolutely. As we have discussed that by this government order, suddenly 59 applications have been blocked. Now, the reason what the government has given is mainly that these apps have been blocked on account of national security, and also there has been an infringement of privacy of the users of these applications, as well as there has been a data penetration or data loss by the users. Now, when this is the reasoning given by the government, definitely it has directly impacted so many people who are using TikTok for their livelihood, for entertainment, for their increasing their popularity, etc., so on and so forth. Now, first I will talk about the people who were making little money, or for whom these applications were means of earning money on daily basis. Now, as you all know, now there have been so many social media applications where when people upload their videos or upload their skills through a medium of a video or otherwise, they are being paid by these applications such as YouTube, such as other social media applications. Now, when we talk of TikTok, there were many people who were earning some amount of money, maybe as a means of their livelihood or otherwise, which have been greatly affected due to the sudden blocking of these applications. There were some applications being used for office purposes, such as Scam Scanner and other applications, which has really affected the office business. Maybe some shop doing Xeroxing or doing scanning documents for people in the offices. So for them, this was an earning medium, and therefore the blocking has certainly affected their livelihood. So far as film stars are concerned, of course, their direct profiting is because of their popularity. If a film star is more popular, he would earn more money and there would be more fan following. So definitely, when millions of users have been asked to remove these applications from their mobiles, etc., they are going to use millions of fan following, and therefore certainly it's going to affect them substantially. So my view on these kind of people is that when there is a effect on the livelihood of these people, this certainly can be challenged before the court of law, as the Honorable Supreme Court and the courts have held in so many decisions that one cannot be snatched away with the means of livelihood by a feared order by the government. It has to be tested on the in the court as to whether the order which has passed by the government has proper reasoning, whether the same can be passed under the against the protection, that is fundamental rights under Article 21, under Article 19 uh, uh, of the Constitution of India. So therefore, of course, these rights are affected, but once this order is challenged, and the people who are affected by this order challenge this order before the court of law, the court would certainly test this order under the provisions of different human rights which are guaranteed to the citizens of this India.
So while the citizens have these rights, they can approach the court and seek the appropriate remedy. The good news is that the vacuum which was created by banning of these apps are already getting filled. In fact, the replacement of TikTok is already there. It's an Indian product called Chingari. They are showing almost like 400,000 downloads every hour, and from Monday next week, the expected download would be about a million every hour. So people are immediately downloading them, these applications, and also migrating whatever they had on TikTok on Chingari. So I think solutions are coming on its way. While, as you said, Nagesh, there are rights, and if people finding it difficult to migrate to other platforms, they can always take remedy from the legal system. So now coming to the second question, which is regarding the right to livelihood for the migrant labor. Now the situation in India, I can share a few points before you start your narration, is that systematically industries were destroyed in our country during 70s. And all these skilled labor, as a consequence, became unskilled laborers. You know, they were doing work in the factory and they were having different kinds of skill, but those industries were systematically killed during the emergency and after that. In fact, when we were growing as kids, we always used to see these movies about workers going on strike. And those are real things because that was going on in the north side of the country. And then after that, to fill the gap, the industries started building up in the south and Gujarat and Maharashtra and these places. So what happened? The industries are coming up, but there are no labor, and labor became a baseline for any industry. So as a consequence, the labor, which is now called unskilled labor, is forced to migrate to other states and has worked as an unskilled labor in this industry. So during the corona, so this system was going on very well for last 20, 25 years, that the whole industry in India was dependent on migrant labor, either migrating from UP to Maharashtra or Odisha to Tamil Nadu. And this was going on. After COVID, we realized that there are daily wagers, people who employ them, even though it is very important for them, they don't take care of them. The governments on those states, they know that these are the baseline workers for my own state's economy, do not take care of them. They're left on the road. And so my question is that this situation we understand very well. So they have returned to their states in UP, Bihar, Odisha, whichever place they are. Some of them are still stuck. So my real question is that there has to be some certain law in the country with regard to migrant labor right to livelihood. There has to be some sort of a minimum wage law. So I like to know your legal opinion on this issue.
Well, CK, unfortunately, because of the lockdown, many people, many daily wager workers had to migrate from the actual place of work to their hometowns. Now, why it was done? Because the public health experts recommended that the factories, the companies should encourage that the work should be done either from home, or that the workers should not be allowed to come to the workplace because of spread of virus. Now, there are certain work uh, occupations such as retail, restaurants, personal services, gig economy, and informal sectors where this remote working option cannot work. You need people to work on these occupations every day, and they are directly affected because of the lockdown. Now, since the factories were shut, the restaurants were asked to close, the malls were asked to shut down, the owners had no option but to tell the migrants to be at home, and as soon as they reopen the factories or shops, etc., they can come back. Now, during the lockdown, some factories were allowed to work at 30% strength, or at some strength which the government allow during unlocking periods. Now, for that also, a lot of workers have started working, but a lot of them, since have gone back home, have not returned. Now, what best the government could do was, the one option was direct cash payments to compensate these people who had lost their work, and also that these new arrangements being made for creating work for them in their hometowns. A lot of jobs have been uh, um, announced by the government in Bihar and other places where the government is taking up such projects, which is a welcoming thing. But as this lockdown is for everyone, be it the owner, the factory owner, the shop owner, and also the migrant worker, both of those have equally been economically affected. Now, it is difficult for a person who is owning the factory to pay somebody when there is no work at all. There is the factory is absolutely shut. There is practically no business which is taking place. So these rights, of course, have been affected, but at the same time, there is a cause which has compelled everybody to shut down their work. Definitely, when saving of their jobs are concerned, the government has come out with some orders. Rights have also been said of these workmen. Again, would be challenged before the good acts. There are certain protection which is given to these daily wage workers under that act. But once that situation where everybody is affected, and the court will have to balance it out as to where, how, and in the best possible way the economy must come back to test facts and circumstances of that particular case.
So I think India being a very large country, and there is no bar from people moving from one state to other. I think what we need also, in addition to what you said, is as a layman, I'm just saying that there has to be some minimum wage concept. Uh, I think Corona has taught us that. So if people are migrating from one state to other, there has to be a good compelling reason. Otherwise, they can continue working in their own state. There is no need to migrate. So something like what European Union has done, they have created. I mean, in EU also people migrate from France to Germany to Belgium and so on. So they have implemented sort of a minimum wage law. Personally, as a layman, I think there has to be a minimum wage law. What is your thinking on that as a legal expertise?
And definitely, you see, government has already fixed minimum wages for skilled and unskilled workers. and accordingly they are required to be paid. Now, what generally the contractors or the business people do is the minimum wages are not paid to these workmen while they are taken on job, and uh, a threat is alive for those people if they don't accept the money which is being paid to them. If not accepted, then they might lose the job. So this is the arrangement which a lot of workers come to, and they accept whatever wages are being given to them, despite the fact the minimum wages are not given. Now, whenever there is a challenge to any such right, the court takes its own time to decide those rights, and maybe after a long period of time, uh, maybe when the workman loses his job, gets to be paid whatever the court decides. So the workers in our country are sometimes are compelled to face such a situation where minimum wages are not being paid to them. But although it has been fixed by the government in all occupations in the country. Secondly, you pointed out that the every state has to become self-sufficient in providing jobs because of not uh, being enough industries in a particular state. The workers, the people who are residing in a particular state don't get jobs, and therefore they are compelled to migrate to other states. So every state government has to make arrangements by creating jobs and projects so that the people from that particular state who need to migrate from one state to another gets their job and are able to survive and protect their daily livelihood.
It was indeed pleasure talking to you, Nagesh. I think we have limited time today, but next Monday we will continue our journey on the human rights, and we will also discuss about the world largest food security program launched by the Prime Minister of India, which is also a part of human rights, and we will discuss in detail in the next edition on Monday. So until then, thank you for coming, Nagesh. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, CK. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks a lot. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.